Have you ever felt like you were in control of your life, only to realize, at the most unexpected moment, that it was all just an illusion? You plan, you strategize, you push yourself forward, convincing yourself that every decision you make is shaping your future. But what if I told you that deep down, the true forces shaping your life aren't the choices you think you're making? What if everything you've ever tried to control, your relationships, your career, your happiness, wasn't really in your hands at all? The harder you grasp, the more it slips away. The tension between wanting control and feeling powerless is the quiet struggle that most of us face, yet we never talk about it. It's uncomfortable to acknowledge that we're not as in charge as we believe. But here's the real question. Is it possible that in letting go of the need for control, we might finally start living the life we've been desperate to control? The answer to that question could change everything. Have you ever had one of those moments when everything felt perfect, like you had finally mastered your life, your decisions, your destiny? It's the moment when everything clicks into place, the job, the relationship, the plans you've worked so hard to put together. For a fleeting second, you think you're in control. You tell yourself, "I've got this." You feel the world bending to your will, as if your careful decisions, the late nights, the sacrifices, have finally paid off. And then, it all unravels. You lose the job you thought was secure, a relationship you thought was unbreakable crumbles. Or maybe, despite your relentless efforts, you find yourself in the same situation you were trying so hard to escape. The panic sets in, doesn't it? The frustration, the feeling of helplessness as you watch everything you tried to control slip through your fingers. It's the crushing realization that, despite your best efforts, you were never really in control at all. And yet, you keep fighting. You keep trying to tighten your grip, to plan more, to predict more, hoping that this time, you can make things work the way you want. But what if this fight, this constant battle to hold it all together, is the very thing that's breaking you? You see, the truth is, we cling to control because it gives us a sense of safety. It's the illusion that we can predict the future, steer our lives in a specific direction, and avoid pain or failure. But control is a mirage, an escape from the discomfort of uncertainty. In reality, life is unpredictable, chaotic, and uncontrollable. And when we try to force it into something manageable, something predictable, we only set ourselves up for disappointment. Think about it. Every time you've planned and plotted, thinking you were building something secure, what happened when life threw you an unexpected curveball? The relationship that fell apart because of a misunderstanding. The business venture that failed despite your meticulous research. The personal dream that you thought would come true, only to watch it fade away. These aren't just random failures, they're the result of trying to control something we have no control over. And in doing so, we lose sight of what really matters. It's not the world that's messing with your plans, it's your expectations, your desire to control the uncontrollable. What if the problem isn't the unpredictability of life, but the illusion of certainty you've been clinging to? Imagine, just for a moment, letting go. Letting go of the need to dictate every outcome, every detail. Instead of fighting against the flow of life, what if you could learn to move with it, accept it for what it is? The idea seems terrifying at first. What would happen if I stopped trying to control everything? The answer is simple. You'd stop fighting the inevitable, and in doing so, you might finally start living. Letting go sounds easy, doesn't it? A simple shift, release your grip, stop fighting the current, and everything will fall into place. But if it were that easy, why does it feel like the hardest thing in the world? Why do we cling so tightly to what we think we control, even when it's slowly suffocating us? The truth is, the fear of letting go runs deeper than we care to admit. It's not just the fear of losing control, it's the fear of who we'll become if we stop controlling everything. Will we still be ourselves if we let the plans we've so carefully crafted fall apart? Will we collapse into chaos? Will the pieces of our life scatter, never to come back together? It's terrifying, isn't it, to imagine a life where things don't unfold exactly as we planned, where we aren't the ones pulling all the strings, navigating every step, crafting every outcome. And yet, this is the place where most of us are stuck, frozen in place by a fear we can't seem to shake. The root of this fear lies in something primal, our need for security. The feeling that if we can just control our environment, we'll be safe. We'll avoid pain, loss, failure. We'll avoid feeling vulnerable. Because vulnerability is the ultimate risk, isn't it? It's the fear of showing the world your true self, the fear of being seen as weak or incapable. When we let go, we risk exposing our deepest fears. What if I'm not enough? What if things fall apart and I'm left with nothing? And yet, the irony is this. In holding on so tightly, in clinging to control, we create the very suffering we fear. The more we try to shape every outcome, the more we stifle our own growth. The more we force things to fit into narrow, predictable patterns, the more we miss the richness of life's unpredictable flow. It's like trying to hold on to water. You can only grip it for so long before it slips through your fingers, no matter how hard you try. The tension that comes with the fear of letting go isn't just about what might happen, it's about what we're holding on to. We hold on because we think we need to, because we believe if we let go, everything we've worked for will crumble. But in reality, it's only by releasing control that we allow ourselves to grow, to explore new possibilities, and to finally experience life as it's meant to be. Imperfect, unpredictable, and free. So, what's the cost of holding on too tightly? Is the life you're trying so desperately to control really worth the price you're paying in stress, anxiety, and missed opportunities? The truth is, the more we hold on, the more we lose. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means trusting in the process of life, trusting that we don't have to control everything to find peace. Certainty feels good, doesn't it? That clear, unshakable belief that you know exactly where you're headed, that you've got everything figured out. It's like a comforting blanket, wrapping you in a sense of security. The world makes sense when you have the answers, when the path ahead is clear, when the outcome feels certain. You can plan, predict, and control, and for a brief moment, you believe that this certainty is your shield against the chaos of the unknown. But the reality is far more complicated. Life isn't a straight line. It isn't a neatly mapped out road with signposts guiding you every step of the way. It's messy. It's full of twists, turns, and obstacles you didn't see coming. And yet, we desperately cling to the illusion of certainty, as if holding on to a belief that things should always make sense can somehow protect us from life's unpredictability. It's easy to see why we do it. Uncertainty is terrifying. It's the unknown, the unpredictable. The fear that without control, we'll spiral into confusion, failure, or worse, chaos. But in our quest for certainty, we often trap ourselves in a cycle of rigid beliefs and false assurances. We convince ourselves that if we just follow the right plan, make the right choices, and keep everything in check, we can escape the discomfort of uncertainty. We think we can outrun it. But the harder we try, the more we find that certainty is like quicksand. No matter how tightly we grip it, it slips away, leaving us feeling unmoored and unfulfilled. We create false beliefs about ourselves, about others, about the world, and when they don't align with reality, we suffer. We cling to plans and expectations that no longer serve us, afraid to change direction because that would mean admitting we were wrong. But the truth is that certainty can be dangerous. It can keep us stuck in unhealthy patterns, blocking us from growth and personal transformation. It can prevent us from seeing new possibilities and embracing the rich, unpredictable experiences life has to offer. The real tension here is this. What if the only thing you need to control is your willingness to embrace uncertainty? What if the secret to living a fuller, more authentic life is not in making everything certain and predictable, but in stepping into the unknown with courage? The path forward isn't about forcing the world to fit into your tidy little boxes. It's about letting go of the illusion that you can control it all and allowing yourself to flow with life's natural rhythm. The freedom we seek isn't found in the certainty of plans, but in the willingness to surrender to the unknown, to trust that not knowing is where true growth begins. And so, you stand at a crossroads. Do you continue to chase certainty, clinging to an illusion that leaves you stagnant? Or do you choose the unknown, with all its risks, but also all its possibility? There's something strangely comforting about a well-laid plan. The certainty of knowing exactly what comes next. The illusion that if we follow the steps perfectly, we'll get to where we want to be. We think that by planning every detail, we are somehow ensuring success, avoiding failure, steering clear of mistakes, and protecting ourselves from the unknown. But have you ever noticed how the more you plan, the less room there seems to be for life to actually unfold? The more you try to map out every possible detail, the more you become trapped by the very plans that were supposed to give you freedom. You start to believe that if just one thing goes off course, the entire structure will collapse. And when it does, when things inevitably don't go according to plan, you feel like a failure. The tension sets in. All that preparation, all those efforts, and yet you're left feeling lost, unproductive, and helpless. The problem is that over-planning isn't just about organizing your life, it's about controlling it. It's about attaching your sense of worth and security to an outcome that can never be guaranteed. Every time you overthink, every time you prepare for every possible contingency, you lock yourself into a narrow, rigid path. Instead of moving with life, you're constantly fighting against its natural flow, trying to force it into something manageable. And yet, the more you hold on to these plans, the more you prevent yourself from living in the moment. You miss the opportunities that come from spontaneity, the lessons that only emerge when you embrace the unknown. Over-planning might give you a sense of control, but it takes away the most important thing of all, your ability to adapt, to be present, to grow. In the process, you stop being able to hear life's whispers, the subtle shifts that call you to new directions, the moments that could change everything. Instead of being flexible, you become rigid, trapped by the need to stay on course. You see every setback as a failure, every change in direction as a catastrophe. But life isn't meant to be controlled. It's meant to be experienced, in all its chaos and beauty. Here's the dark side of planning. It doesn't make you more productive. It doesn't bring you closer to your dreams. Instead, it keeps you stuck in an endless cycle of perfectionism. The pressure to always have a plan, always know what comes next, keeps you from taking risks, from making mistakes, from truly living. The more you cling to the idea that everything must go according to plan, the more you lose the chance to grow, to learn, and to find the unexpected joy that lies outside of your tightly controlled world. What if, instead of over-planning, you learned to trust the process? What if you let go of the need to control every outcome and allowed yourself the freedom to fail, to stumble, and to be surprised by life? Because when you do, that's when the real freedom begins. Surrender. It's a word that often feels like weakness, isn't it? To surrender means to give up, to admit defeat, to allow yourself to be controlled. That's how we've been taught to see it, like giving up your power. But what if surrender isn't about losing control? What if it's about recognizing that you never really had control in the first place? Imagine, for a moment, letting go of the constant fight. What if, instead of trying to shape every aspect of your life, you allowed yourself to be carried by it? What if, instead of resisting the flow, you surrendered to it, trusting that it will take you where you need to go, even if it's not where you thought you wanted to be? This is the power of surrender. It's not giving up, it's giving in to the natural rhythm of life, to the flow of possibility that can't be controlled. The irony is that in releasing our grip, we often find a freedom we never thought possible. When we stop forcing every outcome, we open ourselves up to new possibilities. We stop resisting the very thing that could lead us to growth, to change, to transformation. There are countless examples of people who've embraced surrender and found peace. Consider the story of someone who has worked tirelessly for a career, building and planning their future, only to find themselves unexpectedly laid off. At first, it feels like a crushing blow, an absolute loss. But then, after the shock fades, something amazing happens. They begin to explore new passions, new opportunities, and, in the process, discover a career they never could have planned for. Their life becomes richer, fuller, more aligned with their true self. In surrendering control over the outcome, they find their true path. This isn't an isolated story. It's the story of countless people who, after years of struggle and striving, let go of the need to control every detail of their lives and finally found peace. They realized that the more they fought against life, the more they closed themselves off to the opportunities that were waiting for them. When they surrendered, they were finally able to flow with life's natural current, and in doing so, they discovered freedom. Surrender doesn't mean giving up on your dreams or ambitions. It doesn't mean letting go of your responsibilities or losing your sense of direction. It means recognizing that the outcome is not always yours to control, that the universe, or life itself, has a rhythm, a direction, and sometimes it's not the path you would have chosen, but it's one that leads to growth you could never have anticipated. It's about shifting from fear and resistance to trust and possibility. When we surrender, we stop fighting against the current. We stop trying to dictate every step of our journey, and instead, we let ourselves be carried. We stop seeing every challenge as a failure, and instead, we see it as a lesson. The tension fades, and in its place, we discover an unexpected peace. The freedom we seek isn't found in control, it's found in the surrender. The true power comes not from holding tightly to the reins of life, but in learning to let go and trust where the current will take us. Uncertainty. It's the thing most of us try to avoid at all costs, isn't it? The unknown, the unpredictability, the chaos. When faced with uncertainty, our first instinct is to fight it, to resist it with all our might. We see it as a weakness, something that threatens to destabilize our lives, disrupt our plans, and leave us lost. But what if everything we've been taught about uncertainty is wrong? What if the very thing we fear the most is actually the greatest source of our strength? Think about it. When life is certain, when everything is neatly laid out before you, where's the room for growth? Where's the space for creativity, for new ideas, for reinvention? Life's predictability can easily lull us into a state of complacency, making us think we've got everything figured out. But what happens when the unexpected shows up? When the world turns upside down and we have no choice but to adapt? It's in those moments, in the unknown, where true strength is forged. Look at the greatest figures in history. Think of the artists who thrived in uncertainty. Pablo Picasso, who revolutionized art by stepping into the unknown, leaving behind tradition and embracing new, unpredictable forms. Or the scientists like Marie Curie, whose groundbreaking discoveries were made not because she had all the answers, but because she was willing to embrace uncertainty, to question everything, to not know and still move forward. These people didn't wait for certainty to knock on their door. They embraced the chaos, the unpredictability, the discomfort of not knowing, and in doing so, they created something new, something revolutionary. It's not just the famous figures. Look at the everyday people who faced personal upheavals, job losses, health crises, broken relationships, and instead of crumbling under the weight of uncertainty, they've reinvented themselves. They've found new passions, developed new skills, and built entirely new lives from the ashes of what they thought was secure. They thrived not in spite of uncertainty, but because of it. The truth is that uncertainty holds the potential for reinvention. Every moment of unpredictability is a canvas, waiting for us to paint something new, something we never could have imagined while we were clinging to the comfort of certainty. The tension we feel when we face the unknown is the very energy that can propel us forward, pushing us to become the people we're meant to be. Uncertainty forces us to grow, to stretch beyond our limits, to break free from the constraints of who we thought we were supposed to be. But here's the catch. To step into uncertainty, you have to let go of the fear. You have to embrace the possibility that you don't have all the answers, that you can't predict every outcome. And that's okay. Because in that space, the space of not knowing, of not being in control, lies the opportunity for something more than what you could ever have planned. Uncertainty doesn't have to be a weakness. It's the birthplace of creativity, resilience, and reinvention. It's where the most profound transformations happen. The question is, can you learn to see uncertainty not as something to fear, but as something to embrace? Can you trust that, in the unknown, there is strength waiting for you? Control. It's what we crave, isn't it? The sense that we can direct our lives, that everything will unfold exactly as we plan, that we can predict, prevent, and guide every outcome. We tell ourselves that control is power, that by holding onto the reins tightly, we ensure success, safety, and security. The illusion of control keeps us anchored, prevents us from feeling lost in the chaos of life. But what if everything we've been taught about control is upside down? What if the more we try to control our lives, the more we actually limit our freedom? The struggle for control is powerful. It comes from a deep-seated fear of uncertainty, of failure, of feeling vulnerable. We think that by holding on to the details, by making sure every step, every outcome, every possibility is accounted for, we protect ourselves from pain, from loss, from disappointment. We think control gives us strength, but what it really does is bind us. It forces us into rigid expectations, trapping us in a small, predictable space. It narrows our experiences and prevents us from embracing the richness of life's uncertainties. When we grasp for control, we tie ourselves to a specific outcome. We create a mental prison, where anything that doesn't fit our vision feels like failure. We become slaves to our own expectations, constantly trying to force reality into a shape that no longer fits. The more we try to control, the more we find that the very thing we want slips further and further away. But here's the paradox. By letting go of control, we actually open ourselves up to true freedom. The moment we release our grip on trying to dominate every aspect of our lives, we create space for something unexpected to emerge. We stop forcing the outcome and allow ourselves to flow with life, trusting that things will unfold as they are meant to, even if it's not how we imagined. When we let go of control, we begin to see that the world doesn't need to bend to our will for us to feel at peace. Life isn't about forcing every door open. It's about finding the courage to walk through the ones that open on their own. And when we stop trying to force relationships, careers, and opportunities into predetermined molds, we begin to experience the richness of life that we've been missing. This is when the transformation happens. When we stop fighting against the flow, when we stop demanding things unfold in a certain way, we start to see life with new eyes. We recognize that some of the most profound experiences come when we least expect them, the moments of connection, creativity, and growth that happen outside our rigid plans. Releasing control doesn't mean giving up. It means trusting the process. It means recognizing that the universe has its own timing, that life has a rhythm we don't always understand, but one that will lead us to the right places if we just let it. By letting go of the need to control every aspect of our lives, we unlock the freedom to be fully present, to explore new possibilities, and to embrace the adventure of the unknown. So, ask yourself, are you holding on to control out of fear? Or are you ready to trust that life will unfold in ways you could never have imagined? Only in letting go can you truly be free. Imagine waking up each day without the weight of control pressing down on you. No more feeling like you have to plan every detail, micromanage every decision, or anticipate every possible outcome. Instead, you wake up and breathe freely, knowing that life, in all its unpredictability, is not something to be conquered, but something to be experienced. It sounds almost too simple, doesn't it? To live without the constant need to control every aspect of your world. Yet, it is precisely in letting go of this illusion of control that we discover true peace. We often think that control is what keeps us safe, what keeps us on track. But in reality, it's the need for control that keeps us trapped in a cycle of anxiety, frustration, and missed opportunities. Consider the lives of people who have truly embraced this truth, those who have let go of the need to dominate every facet of their existence. These are people who have faced adversity, loss, and the unknown, and instead of succumbing to fear, they allowed themselves to surrender to life's flow. Take someone who, after years of chasing a certain career, faced an unexpected layoff. Instead of clinging to the idea of success they once had, they let go of the need for stability and embraced the uncertainty. They found peace in the acceptance that their identity wasn't tied to one job, one role, or one path. They started exploring new possibilities, and in doing so, they discovered a deeper sense of fulfillment, a sense of purpose that could never have been found within the rigid boundaries of control. This is the peace that comes with surrender. It's the peace of accepting that life doesn't need to follow your script in order to be meaningful. It's about stepping into the unknown with open arms, trusting that each moment has something valuable to offer, even when it doesn't look the way you imagined. The journey you've taken, through the uncertainty and the fear of letting go, is one of transformation. You've seen how the illusion of control keeps you locked in patterns of fear and resistance, but now, standing at the edge of that fear, you have a choice. You can continue fighting against the flow of life, trying to shape every outcome and force every situation into your vision, or you can choose peace. Peace comes not from certainty, not from control, but from acceptance. The acceptance that life, in its unpredictability, is the most beautiful, transformative force. When you stop fighting to control it, when you stop trying to predict every step, you begin to live in a state of constant possibility. You become free to grow, to explore, and to truly experience the richness of life as it unfolds. The question now is not what if, but when. When will you step into this new way of living? When will you trust that peace is not something you force, but something you allow? The journey doesn't end here, but the path to true freedom begins with a single step, the step of letting go. So, what will you choose? Will you continue to fight for control? Or will you embrace the freedom and peace that comes when you finally let go?